Welcome to Catholic Ed for All, your weekly insight into topics of special education in Catholic schools. My name is Dr. Raul Escarpio, and I invite you to join me each week as we learn how to be more inclusive in Catholic schools and continue to live out St. John Paul II's message of open wide the doors to Christ. Many thanks go out to RCL Benziger, who is generously sponsoring this podcast. RCL Benziger enriches the worldwide Catholic community by providing the most engaging and highest quality resources, programs, and services rooted in the rich and diverse tradition of the Catholic faith. And now, on to our show. On the show today, I am joined by Mrs. Lynn Heyer, Executive Director for the Fire Foundation in Kansas City, Missouri. Hello, Lynn. Welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
Hi, Raul. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, I'm so glad you can be here today. Lynn, can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live in Kansas City, Missouri, right here in the heartland, home of the Chiefs, if you're a football fan, which is kind of a big, exciting thing for us here in the Midwest these days. And I am the executive director of the Fire Foundation. This is such a privilege to serve in this capacity. I've been doing this for a little bit over 5 years now. My husband and I are the parents of 3 sons who live in different parts of the country. Our oldest, Max, is a geologist, and he lives in Louisiana. Hey, Max. And our middle son, PJ, lives in Kansas City. And our youngest son, Ben, lives in Chicago. And we love living in the Midwest. We love our city. And I'm just excited to be here with you today, Raul.
Oh, thank you. Okay, heavy sigh for me because I am a season ticket holder to and a long-suffering Miami Dolphins fan.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have heard strange rumors that Kansas City Chiefs fans are like the best football fans in the world. Is that true?
It's not just a legend. It is the truth.
There's actual a factual basis
and you
to
know
that.
what? We've been long suffering. I mean, this season has been a long time in the making.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
We've got a great quarterback. I mean, not only is he a talented football player, but he's just a really nice guy. Patrick Mahomes, if you're a football fan, you might know that name.
Mm-hmm.
And the city is really embracing him, and for good reason. I think this team just has sort of that really strong camaraderie, like they like each other, love each other, and I think that's part of their secret sauce.
Fantastic. And at the time of this airing, you'll be in the playoffs. So we're going to be cheering for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that'll be the last thing we mention because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. All right, moving on. So, Lynn, you were talking about you being an executive director. Can you please tell the audience about the work that is the Fire Foundation and your role there?
Yes, so the Fire Foundation was founded, Raul, in 1996 by 6 families here in Kansas City. They all met in a developmental preschool setting, discovered they had some things in common. They were all Catholic. They all had children who had some significant disabilities, and they all had a yearning for those children to go to Catholic school with their siblings. And so sort of in a grassroots fashion, they came together and just started plotting and planning, and the Holy Spirit guided them. And within a couple of years, they had started a nonprofit called the Foundation for Inclusive Religious Education, or as we know it today, the Fire Foundation. And so in 1998, the Fire Foundation made its first grant to 2 Catholic schools in the Diocese of Kansas City, St. Joseph, and 3 little men who are now 25-year-old young men, contributors to our community and our parishes. they started out at 2 schools, and this had never been done before. And this was in a time when people really didn't understand inclusion as a best practice, and it definitely wasn't happening in Catholic schools. So it was a brave, bold, courageous thing, and we had the blessing of our bishop, superintendent, and the parish priests and principals where we started, and the rest is history. I'm not going to say it was easy. It was never easy. There were challenges almost on a daily basis, but our founders prevailed. They did a lot of praying. They did a lot, they talked to everyone everywhere about what they were doing and built this momentum around our mission, which is to provide children with special needs the opportunity for an inclusive Catholic education in their home parish schools. And in their home parish schools is really the critical linchpin here, because it's not about going to a separate school or, a school designated for a Catholic school designated for children with special needs. This is about being in your home parish community with your family, with your neighbors, with the people that witnessed your baptism and said, yes, we will help raise you in the faith. And so here we are 22 years later, and we have granted nearly $5 million to support inclusive Catholic education during the past 2 decades. And this year, we are partnering with 14 schools in our diocese to support inclusive ed. The grants that we make to these schools are used largely to hire staff, sometimes pay for salaries for special educators and or para-educators, sometimes to pay for professional development or a variety, whatever needs, whatever resources we need to bring to the table to create successful learning environments for students who learn differently. And whatever we need to do to make sure they're making progress toward their goals and experiencing academic growth, social growth, and spiritual formation. So that's the crux of what we do. We're all about opening the doors, and we're not the program, we're not the educators. We leave that to the pros who are on the front lines in the classrooms at the schools. We're the ones who are working behind the scenes to make sure that the resources are there so that so that Catholic schools can open their doors to children who have disabilities.
So you are the fairy godmother to their Cinderella stories, basically, in a way. Or,
well,
and if I can
not me exactly. It definitely takes a village, and we have a wonderful, board. We have a strong group of volunteers. We have a terrific staff, and we have a very generous pool of donors who make it all happen.
Right. And in a joking way, I can say that you are the sugar daddies for their wishes. and in a final way, you're like the angels on their shoulder, guiding them along and helping them. I think it's
I like that descriptor.
Yeah, not the sugar daddy one, I assume. It's just like the angels on their shoulder. Sugar daddy works too, though, although some people are probably rolling their eyes right now. Okay,
well, whatever
sorry.
you call this, I have to say it's an honor and a privilege to do this work, and we see inspiring things happening every day, and we're just so grateful for all of the people who we say are part of our fire family. Because people understand the power of this mission and what it does, not just for the kiddos who have special needs, but for entire school communities. It changes the heart of a school and of the culture of a parish, and we shift our focus from what people or individuals can't do to what they can do, and it's a really wonderful thing.
Fantastic. So speaking of building communities and touching hearts, it seems that you have a conference coming up next month, the Inclusion in Action Conference of 2019. Tell me about,
Yes.
yes, tell me about its origins and the purpose for a conference like this, Lynn.
Well, the conference is, so we do a lot of fundraising, Raul, but we also do a lot of what we call advocacy. And that means we are doing everything we can to remove the barriers to inclusive Catholic education. And we know that one of the barriers is that our educators need to be equipped with good information and expertise and best practices so they can understand, how to employ all of these strategies in the classroom and make things work for all of the learners. So we hosted our first conference in 2017, and we're a small staff, so we're not able to do this on an annual basis, but we're giving it another go this year. The dates of the conference are February 18th through 20th here in Kansas City. And there's a lot of good information about the conference on our website. If you go to firefoundation.org, there's a tab at the top of the page on the conference. And you can learn just about anything you want to about what we've got on tap. I think one of the things we're most excited about, in addition to some great speakers and presenters, is that we're going to be kicking off the conference with tours of a couple of inclusive schools. So before we get down to brass tacks and our attendees start digging into the content of the conference and hearing from the presenters, we're taking everyone out on a bus tour to visit a K-8 school and a high school where inclusive education flourishes. And so they can see firsthand how this works, meet the kids, meet the educators, and just, seeing is believing is what I say. So seeing that inclusion in action.
I think that is huge, and a capital HUGE, that you will actually be providing visits to these schools, because it gives the participants a firsthand look at success stories and also the need to replicate or duplicate this at a national level, Lynn, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I cannot even begin to tell you how excited we are about giving our conference attendees this opportunity. And the schools who are hosting these visitors are like just besides themselves with excitement. It's going to be a really cool thing.
So let's talk about, I'm sorry, let's just talk about some of the topics that you will be exploring in the conference through the different sessions. So in case our listeners, which we're highly encouraging to attend, want to check it out, they know exactly what's in store for them.
Yes, I would love to share that. Well, we are going to kick the conference off on Monday afternoon, February 18th, with a keynote presentation by none other than Dr. Raul Escarpio.
Okay.
And so
Afterwards,
we're really excited. No pressure, but
None.
We're really excited to welcome you. And I believe
you.
you're going to be talking about inclusion as a mandate of our Catholic faith, just how inclusion connects back to the gospel and what we are taught as Catholics about, why inclusion matters and why this is a part of our faith. And we're also going to have a young woman who is a self-advocate who is her name is Mary Warm, and she's going to be talking a lot about her experiences. She's now 27 years old and living independently and pursuing a college degree, but she is a product of inclusive Catholic schools, and she's going to talk about what that experience meant for her as she was growing up. Some of the other speakers include Nicole Aretics, who is an author and a presenter, who will be talking a lot about the sort of the strategies and the tactics. This is what we do to, what are some of the practices that we employ, and how do we modify curriculum, and what do we really do to make this work in a classroom? These are the kinds of things that teachers really want to know. Maybe they've already bought into the idea of inclusion, but they're wondering, how do I do it? And Nicole is really going to get into some of the depth of that. We also will be welcoming Dr. Michael Boyle, who is from Loyola University in Chicago, and he is part of their fantastic inclusive leadership program that trains principals to lead inclusive schools. So he will be talking about moving from just welcoming kiddos who have special needs to belonging, and that focus on belonging. How do these kiddos really become a part of that learning community, socially, academically, spiritually? And then we have Beth Foraker, who is coming from the National Catholic Board on Full Inclusion. She does a fantastic job of networking people across the country who are on this inclusion journey in Catholic schools, and helping them connect with people in their immediate area, with folks who believe in the power of inclusion. And also about what's next, what happens after our kiddos graduate from high school and they've been part of this inclusive learning journey. Where do they go next at the college or post-secondary level? So those are some of our keynotes, but you can find out more about we'll have a ton of breakouts on a range of topics, just practical solutions for the classroom, the dollars and cents of inclusion, leveraging effective practices for all learners, you name it. We're covering all this territory in a very short period of time, but I think we've done a good job of, adding some breadth to the topics that are offered, but also hopefully going deep. I mean, we want people to walk away with some really solid, good stuff that they can take back to their schools and their classrooms and start using.
Absolutely. And I know you have some great sponsors as well that are helping you out.
We do, and we are so grateful. In fact, RCL Benzinger is one of who I believe sponsors your podcast.
Yay, they do.
One of the, yes, so they are one of the first sponsors that step forward, and they're sponsoring your participation in our conference. So we're super excited and grateful for that. We have Brooks Publishing on board with us. Also, a wonderful foundation called Porticus is helping us out. So we have gotten some great support. And I think the conference is priced at an affordable, rate. It's $349. So, and I know a lot of schools, and this ranges depending upon, where you are in the country, but a lot of our participants are tapping into title funds to be able to attend.
Fantastic. It sounds like an incredible event. I commend you for all the hard work you and your organization have done so far. So with that being said, with this conference, and I know that it's so dear to your heart, what would you like Catholic special education to look like if you had it pie in the sky and unlimited resources? What should it look like?
I would like to see us, Raul, arrive at a point where there's never a doubt or a question in the minds or hearts of parents who are blessed with a child who has special needs, that they know that there's going to be a place for their child in their parish school, and that they're not going to have to struggle or work hard to convince anyone that this is the right place for their child. There should always be a place for all of God's children.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lynn, I want to thank you for joining me today. It has been my pleasure. I'm so glad we were able to talk with a month left for your conference so that you can share all the wonderful things that you're doing and hopefully get lots of people out there to learn about God's great message of welcoming all of his children.
I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, and I will look forward to welcoming you next month, Raul. And again, if anyone has questions or they think this might be an opportunity that they want to pursue, firefoundation.org is the place to go. Or if I may, I can even offer a phone number. Is that appropriate?
Go right ahead.
It's 816
Uh-huh.
756
Uh-huh.
1858. Extension 253, and that's direct to me, and I can answer any questions that anybody has about just specific details related to what we're doing at the conference.
I will be putting that phone number and that website on the show notes so they will be able to see it directly.
And we will see you in Kansas City February 18th through 20th.
Oh, God bless you, Lynn. I hope you have a great day, all right?
Thank you, Raul. Same to you.
Well, that's it for this week. If this podcast was a blessing to you, can you please head over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a review or a rating? It really does help other Catholic educators find the podcast and use it as a resource. Thanks again to the amazing people at RCL Benziger for generously sponsoring this podcast. Check out their new resource for Catholic schools, Blessed Are We, Faith in Action, which enables teachers to share the love of Christ with children who have special needs. Visit rclbenziger.com to learn more. Join me again next time as we continue to advance God's kingdom by including all of God's children in Catholic schools and faith formation. Until then, this is Dr. Raul Escarpio. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.